Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. We don't want to go to war today, but the Lord of the Lash says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way.
Miniature boxes are back on the menu, boys.
All right, welcome, folks. So today we're going to be reviewing and unboxing, I should say, a box of the classic fantasy battles. I think we're calling them Grand Battle Scale, Wargames Atlantic, Orc Horde. And it really is a horde. You're getting kind of a whole army in a box here. So first we could start with the box art, which gives us a lot of an idea of the sort of aesthetic of what these are going to be. And to me, this looks most like those original Hildebrandt Lord of the Rings calendar art orcs. They're like the original Lord of the Rings orcs. We have the horns on the helmets and the kind of greenish look to them, and they're with wargs and all that kind of goodness. So I think that's really great because it means that they're widely applicable for lots of different kinds of fantasy orcs. And if we look at the back, we'll get a little sneak peek of what the contents are, but I am going to walk you through the actual sprues. And we have a bit of diversity here for the different kinds of orcs that are included here, because it seems like you're really getting your whole army in one box, so it has a lot of unit types. And interestingly, we'll talk about it, they also come with their bases, which I think is a first for this kind of range from Wargames Atlantic, where they have the bases coming with the box. So we will begin with the sprue itself. And there's only one, but it is chock-a-block full of good, cool stuff. And you get three of this standard sprue that has all of your orcs in it. We can start at the bottom. So we have a few different kinds of orcs here. We have the heavy orcs with axes, and you have enough, according to the box, to make, it looks like 3 bases of them. And to them, to the Wargames Atlantic folks, it looks like a base is 10 models ranked back to front. So that's quite a few of those heavy axemen with the two-handed kind of pole axe. Then next to them, we have the orc spearmen, and you're going to get 3 bases worth of them, 36 models. Below them, we have the, I'll turn them right side up. You have the orcs with bow, and you're going to get a lot of them, 6 bases of orcs with bow, and they're just going wild. It looks like none of them are actively shooting. They're all cheering. Really funny models there. And then we have the warg riders. We have 4 different models that you get 3 groups of. So they're, in their basing system, at least that means 6 bases with 2 models to a base. And we see most of them have a bow out, and one of them has a sword. It's probably a leader. And then as we proceed up the sprue, we have some sort of command-like figures that have their spear that they're holding on high with a little flag on it that you can do some cool designs on. And then we have kind of a drummer with bones for drumsticks who's beating a drum, presumably on his chest. And we have some more of the sort of light swordsmen, which we have 3 bases of, 36 of them, compared to the 3 bases of heavy swordsmen that we have right here, that are in much heavier armor, and it looks like don't have shields. So it looks like the heavy swordsmen have these big 2-handed swords and big armor, and the light swordsmen are like the ones here that have shields and like a scimitar, some kind of lighter weapon. And then we have, just like with all the other Wargames Atlantic's releases, it looks like they have mixed up, which I think is great, the numbers of models in a single group. So you have some that are singles, like this guy here. You have some that are in groups of 3, and then you even have some in groups of 2. And I think that's really cool because it means you can use these for many different basing options, that you're not really limited to their basing option, although I do like the way that they're implying you should do your bases. But you could have much longer bases if you want, or really short ones if you want 5 wide, maybe single based or something. You're not limited like you might be from some other manufacturers like Warlord that make in this scale. And then with some of those singletons, their suggested basing also seems to be that you could even single base those as command miniatures. And I think now is as good a time as any to show you what that basing looks like. So these are the base sprues that come with the box. You get 3 of them. And on them we have these sort of longer and very small circular oval and circle bases that seem to be for the command figures. So for the longer ones, it looks like you could do something like mount that little command set of 2 of the banner bearer and the drummer. And for the little singleton bases, you could mount a single bowman, swordsman, etc., or even a casualty figure, which they have a few of. It looks like they have 9 casualties. So you could mount him on that as sort of a token. I think that's really awesome. I think it gives a lot of versatility to these models that you could base them in that way. And then while we're on that basing, you can also see what the standard base looks like. It's a 40 millimeter by 20 millimeter, which is, as I understand it, standard for War Master, which I'm guessing War Master Revolution is probably what a lot of folks are going to be playing with these individual models. But they're also, from what I understand, the basing structure that the Wargames Atlantic's folks are going to use for their fantasy game that they're releasing very shortly. Because this model set of orcs, the Orc Horde, is coming along with a dwarf set. So you're going to have, I guess right off the bat, a pretty nice matched pair if you and a friend want to get in on orcs and dwarves to play in their game system. And they really do come in at a relatively affordable price. I think the time that I last saw them, they come in around $40 US. They are made in the United States for a box. And out of that, you're getting, I'll do some quick math, 24 bases of models out of that, which that's a whole pile of models. You got a whole army, and they show it on the back of the box what it would look like sort of assembled. Make sure to get that in focus. There we go. So that's quite a lot of table space taken up by just this one box, let alone if you put 2 together. So I think that's it's really a great value that they're putting together here, and kind of an argument for why 10 millimeter is such a great scale for this kind of thing. And I do understand that War Master is kind of coming back in vogue for that with these small fantasy models. So just to round off, now that we've taken a look at the contents of the box, I'll talk just a little bit about the detail and the sort of logistics of working with them. There has been some concern in the past about the very first release that Wargames Atlantic put out of this scale, the Grand Battle scale, for their Ashigaru line, where the samurai bow and the samurai spear and in particular the Ashigaru pike were a little bit thin. I would say they're realistically proportioned, which meant that if you didn't have a really nice, sharp pair of snips, you might have trouble taking them out without breaking a few. This is definitely a lesson learned for Wargames Atlantic in that these have no problem coming out. The spears are a lot thicker. I struggle to even stress them if I try to, and the axes are the same way. They're a lot thicker. They've gotten a lot more intentional in the contact points of where the sprues align, so I have no concerns with these models coming out of the sprue without any damage on them. And they are, to talk about the detail of them, really very detailed little models. We have a lot of, especially compared with maybe other competitors in the 10 mil scale, plastics let you get a really high level of fidelity where if you're painting carefully, you can pick up an enormous amount of detail here. We have even the folds in this tiny, tiny banner here are really well etched, and we even have some of the kind of mail or strange scrapped together armor that's really visible. And I think it lends itself, especially with some of these tiny textures, to doing things like contrast painting, where you can, in a really small scale, get a lot out of these models by just using a contrast paint or a speed paint and not having to worry too much about highlighting. And you'll pick up awesome details like the fur on these wargs that are really, they're grippy for painters. They're really lending themselves well to painting. So all that to say, I am really impressed with these orc models. I plan to paint some up. And I think that they're a really great addition to the 10 millimeter community. I think they're really the first, at least that I'm aware of, 10 millimeter fantasy that's come out in plastic, which means that they enter the market as this really affordable, really highly detailed, easy entry point into 10 millimeter fantasy if you want. And I think orcs are a great entry point there because you're going to need about 1 million of them if you play as an orc player. Well, thank you folks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe and join our upcoming Mark's Game Room Patreon, where we're going to have a little bit of additional content for folks who join, including planning to put on my painted version of some of the Orc Horde once I get through to it, and I'll let you know my thoughts once I've finished painting. And also remember, if you want to grab some Wargames Atlantic miniatures of your own, which I strongly recommend, I think they're a fantastic manufacturer, then you can use our affiliate link that we'll include in the description. It'll cost you nothing extra and it'll help support the channel. So remember, if you are going to put in an order with Wargames Atlantic, basically let them know that we sent you by using the affiliate link below. And thank you, folks. I hope that you enjoyed, and make sure to comment if you're interested. We read every single one, and often we'll use them to decide what our next video will be. So again, I hope everyone has a great rest of their day, and thank you for joining us.